For about a decade before we actually began building this library, I had been noticing that the roles of libraries were changing pretty rapidly. We were trying to escape the gravity of the common library. We wanted this to be a very different space. We wanted it to feel different and look different so that students could act differently. I'm Lee Van Orstel. I'm Dean of Libraries. My official title is Dean of University Libraries at Grand Valley State University. Grand Valley as a university is tremendously committed to deep, real learning, and that is active learning. We call it sometimes high-impact learning, and that is actually one of the core principles of this library. We tried to turn completely inside out the notion of not thinking, what do you need to do in an academic library to make a student comfortable, but ask just very boldly, what do students need to be doing? And then create the space where they could do it, and it just happens to be a library. There wasn't a body of literature per se about how do you make a library totally different for today. But what we did do was work with Steelcase. We knew that we wanted to be sure that we understood student behaviors as well as we could. We watched how much space they took, we watched their postures, we watched the way they interacted with one another or not. And what we discovered in the process of doing this was that there was a rhythm to the student's life that was unknown to us at its fullest. We began to identify a range of student behaviors that was along the spectrum of the student alone, students together. When they really are heads down on a project or a test or some other creative endeavor, they often expect and demand almost total silence and stillness. So at one end of the spectrum, we looked at spaces that would be almost monk-like cells. On the other end of the spectrum, and the thing that I think makes our library different from other libraries, is that we elevated the concept of noise to an art. I felt like from the beginning that the other end of that alone together spectrum is, let's be really together. Let's just not be together with my group, let me be together with other groups doing similar things, so that students work in an environment that simulates real life environments. I really think if we hadn't had the furnishings we have in this building, we could not have elevated this environment into something new. If we had a single defining concept, it would be the knowledge market. And the idea there, it goes back to active learning, it goes back to rhythm of the day and flexibility in the students' a day. Most importantly of all, it reduces the threshold that's required of a student to engage more deeply with expert help. Everything around it, we've designed an environment that is so accommodating, so compelling, so comfortable, that if we can get them to come in and then present them with options to learn and engage while they're here, we've done something important to positively impact their college experience. This building is gorgeous. It's sexy, it's beautiful, it's filled with light. There are 1,000 ways to entertain yourself in this building. But if it doesn't ultimately make a difference in the way students perform, it's not impactful. In the old days, you'd have a library that was very academic and had its own set of rules, and then you'd have this social thing where there was another set of rules. And if you brought your social rules into the library, you could get in trouble or be shushed, which is a horrible legacy for libraries. But nowadays, there's no need to do that. There's no need to limit. Students need to be in an environment where the connections they feel to all the worlds that they connect with can be allowed more or less simultaneously. And these students are going to be working in a world where that kind of connectivity, that kind of split-second shifting from one thing that has maybe a social implication to another that has a work or a business or a learning implication, those boundaries are not crisp anymore. And I think our environments need to allow people to move smoothly in and out of those different worlds that they inhabit. What works to prepare a student to be successful in their classes with the kinds of skills they have to use is not that different from the skills they're going to need when they graduate and go into the workplace.